This is Gregory Morgan, and welcome to Love Talk. I want to talk to you about the different ways of learning, and also I'm going to tell you a little bit about the value systems that human beings experience. You know, all humanity is moving through stages. Now, you could try to learn things from the outside, and most people are in a stage in life, and we as a civilization are at a stage in life in which we think that learning comes to us from the outside. So all of our learning is always, we're gathering information, and we're bringing it into us from the outside. We call that deductive learning. The type of learning that I want to talk to you about is called inductive learning, and that's where you listen to your heart. Deductive learning is for the head. We are constantly looking out into the world, looking for danger, looking for anything that would threaten our identity, anything that would threaten our lives, our tribe, our values, okay? If you think about it, I think that you will come to the conclusion that this is something that as I thought through, I realized that in every time in my life that I've been upset or disturbed or angry or sad, it's because one of my values had been violated. Something that I valued and considered to be important had been violated, and therefore I'd be upset about it. And that every time that I've been really happy or fulfilled, or I say that I am fulfilled and things are going well, it is because my values are being lived. I began to realize that wasn't something that was just in my mind, that was something that was more in my heart. So even though there's a chart behind me that's showing deductive learning being out from the outside in, I would like you to imagine that that's your head, that's your mind, and that how you learn with the mind is from the outside in. So most people these days consider education, consider learning to be the accumulation of stacks and stacks of data and information. They're expecting to learn a lot of data from the outside in. And while we give you lots of data to think about and to learn about and to study and to take notes, that's all very, very valuable. The only way that you know that you have learned something is that you are living it from the inside out. You're actually practicing it in your everyday life. And so the learning that we are focused on at Embrace Growth is having you get into your heart. Now, you could think of this one that says inductive learning on the other side as being the heart center. When you are quiet and listening in your heart, and you've accumulated enough data, and you've been able to quiet your mind enough to get into the listening to your heart, and this is what we teach you to do. I can change it from here. You will find that there is a deep center of knowledge in your heart, and that you begin to learn from the inside out. And so what you learn, what you know, what you express out in the world is a reflection of what's going on deep within your heart. And what's within your heart has to do with your values, your beliefs, your values, and the level of evolution that you're at in your life. And so everybody's at a different level of evolution, and what we tend to migrate toward, what we tend to attract as relationships in our lives, are the people who are pretty much on the same level as we are. So I'm going to talk a little bit about those value levels so that you can begin to get some mental learning about that, and then you can try it on in your own life and kind of see where it fits with you. Now, they're signaling me that there's some questions coming in over the phone, so let me go ahead and answer some of those, and then I'll move forward into some of the other things I was going to talk to you about today. Hello, this is Gregory, and you are live on the air.
Sir?
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Excellent, thank you.
Yes, this is my first time I ever watch your program.
Wow.
And I live in United States actually, but I'm Persian.
Okay, yes.
And like I said, I just noticed that you're talking about relationship and love, especially.
Yes.
So my question is, I'm about 36-year-old, and I already married twice, and I never had a successful marriage because of the trust that I never had to any of my husbands. So I'm recently married, but we're separated. My husband is currently living in Iran. I'm living in the United States. And but the thing that I can't help myself. I can't just. I have a kid. We have a kid together, but I don't know. This is a problem with because of Iranian guys have always had problem. Honestly, that I don't want to judge Iranian guys. But,
well, let me ask you something. Do you have a question about this? Because that's where I can really be helpful. Do you have a specific question about your situation?
Yes.
You've been married twice. You have a child by, I assume, your second husband. He doesn't even live in the same country as you do.
Yes.
So it would seem to me you might have a question about that.
Yes.
What is the question?
Well, question is I don't trust him.
Well, that's not a question. That's a statement.
Okay. Well, so let's say it's this statement. So I can't help it. I can't.
Okay, so you don't trust him.
Yeah. There's no trust between us.
Okay, so?
So and I really I'm in a difficult time living as a single mother and taking care of my daughter, and I can't. It doesn't matter.
Well, okay, but what's your question, ma'am? Because I mean,
is,
I got that you don't trust your husband, and you probably have a good reason for that.
Yeah, I've been seeing that he hasn't been faithful.
Okay, well, that's probably true.
Yes.
So what's your question?
So my question is, people just, especially my family, they're just blaming me that, even though he's that sort of guy, and then I still have to work out the marriage, and I can't. And it's really, really hard for me to separate him. I really want to divorce him, but the thing that I have a problem with people around me, especially, like I said, my family, and they said, okay, well, you have to work it out. How am I going to work out with some guy that I don't have a trust?
Well, you've not yet asked a question, okay, except for how am I going to work it out with a guy I don't trust?
Right.
You're not, period, ever, okay?
Okay.
You can't work it out with somebody you don't trust.
Right.
Okay? Trust is a gift that you either give or you don't. It's something that can be earned, it's something that can be broken, and it's something that can be built back, okay? But unless he is actively pursuing rebuilding your trust by reassuring you on an almost daily level that he is never, ever, ever going to pursue or be with another woman again, and that he's going to be faithful and true to the vows that he made as a married man and give all of his money, sex, time, and attention to you and your children together, unless he's actively pursuing building that trust with you, then it's never going to work anyhow, okay? Right. And you're married to a person that is not even in the same geographical location. He's not even in the same sort of political or social system as you.
Right.
Okay? So, we live in a system in the United States where monogamy is highly valued, is the name of the game, if you will, as a basis for marriage. He lives in a country where multiple wives and polygamy is pretty much, accepted, even by law. It's religiously accepted, it's politically accepted, it's socially accepted, and it's kind of the norm for a lot of people.
That's true.
Right? So he's not even in the same belief and value system as you are. Okay?
That's true.
So you have no reason to trust him, and no basis for a marriage Western style. You want a monogamous marriage, then it doesn't sound like you have much chance of having one of those. As long as he lives in Iran and you live over here, you're not even acting as man and wife anyhow. A man and wife live together.
That's right.
They live together, they share food together, they sleep in the same bed, they have sex with only each other, they do nice things for each other on a daily basis, they raise children together, the children look, there's dad, there's mom, they get along with each other. That's a marriage as far as I'm concerned.
That's right.
Okay? You don't have that.
I totally accept that. And like I said, yeah, you're right. We don't live together, and that's the reason we don't live together, because we used to live together a year ago, and when I was back in Iran, and then when like you said, it's acceptable for an Iranian man in to have a to have an affair. So when I noticed that, I tried to stop him, and he would say that I'm crazy, that it's all my imaginations, and even I had obvious evidence that he's been in a relationship with some other people, and then he would say, well, I'm too sensitive, and it's okay, that's fine, and
well,
you just
okay,
being jealous.
so the short answer to your non-existent question, the only question you've asked me is how do I work it out, and my short answer is, I gave you the long answer. The short answer is you can't. You're not going to work that out. You should get a divorce.
Okay.
You want to get you want to marry a man that's married to you, who values you as a woman, and who will have the honor and the integrity to honor his word, whether he feels like it or not. Not every man that's married feels like having sex with only one woman for the rest of his life.
Right.
Okay?
True.
That's not necessarily the case. Will you turn those phones off over there, please? It's not necessarily the case. But they have the honor and the integrity to keep their word, even though they may not always feel like that every day. Okay?
That's right. That's right.
Men are men, and their eyes wander and their minds wander, and women, being how single women are, will often flirt with a married man and try to seduce him or get him interested in them. And if the man's has no honor and integrity, well then yes, he can be seduced. He's seducible.
Yeah, that's why it's my plan, and that's why the only reason, like I said, I just wanted to get some help from professionals that I'm doing it right. That's why. That's not my imagination. That's because I really.
Yeah, I got it.
Honestly, I'm sure that that's not this
right.
sort of guy that I would accept his.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and take some other calls.
Okay.
Thank you. I hope this helped you.
So I got my answer
Yeah.
as just this relationship will never work out. So
I don't think so. Unless he's seeking to make it work by actively pursuing solutions that would have you feel secure. If he's saying, oh, you're crazy and it's all in your imagination, and then he's going to live in another country where polygamy is the rule of the day, then no, it's not going to work.
okay.
Don't waste your time. You already got like 2 marriages and a child working against you in terms of ever finding another mate to spend your life with. So I'd get to work on that if I were you. Okay, I got to go.
Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
For your time.
You're welcome. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hello, this is Gregory. You're live on the air with Love Talk.
Hi, Mr. Morgan. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I have a question for you. I'm a grandmother. I was
Congratulations.
not too long ago over my son's house and everything. When I saw that it's puzzle for me if they're doing it right with the kid or not. He's 19 months now. They actually open up the refrigerator and say, what would you like to eat? And the child practically doesn't eat anything. He's very picky. Everything has to be on his way or no way. He always says no to everything. If they go to, for instance, we went to the science center, and then we came back, we were going to go to the car. He says, no, he has to go inside. They said, no, it's time for us to go. He came to the car and cried for 20 minutes till we got home. I mean, it's just a disaster. What would you think? Is this right that for the basic, when we give that much attention or choice to a baby 19 months old, what would you like to eat? Open the refrigerator, or we just have to give him
let me ask you a few questions.
Or whatever we think is right for
Let me ask you a few questions. How old are the parents?
The parents are 30 and almost 30, both of them.
Okay, great. And the child, is he an only child so far?
Yes.
It's interesting that you're the one calling and asking the question. Too bad they're not calling to ask this question.
Because they think maybe what they're doing is right.
I know.
I was
Here's the
the
thing.
grandmother, and I think it's wrong.
Here's the thing. As the mother of, are you the mother of the woman or the man?
No, the man.
It's a little bit tough to give regardless of which one you're the mother of, it's a little hard to give a child a full-grown adult child-raising advice unless they ask for it.
I'm not going to give them the advice. You're right about that. That's
it's kind of tough, right? Because then they could say, "Hey, Mom, this is our kid, and we're going to raise it the way we want." However, you could approach them and say, "Listen, I have some. I'd like to give you some input or advice on. Would that be okay?" In other words, you can ask permission to give them advice, but it sounds like you're not really sure yourself, because you're asking me, "Is that okay for them to open the refrigerator and say, 'What do you want to eat?'" My guess is that for a 19-month-old child, I don't know. It seems to me that they should be telling him what he's going to be eating that day.
That's what I think. Because when you give them that much choice, from beginning, that leads to another thing, leads to another. Then the child, when he goes to the science center, he says, "Hey, I'm the boss."
Yeah, I listen, I see it, and you've kind of touched on one of my pet peeves, because wherever I go in public these days, I see child tyrants dominating entire airplanes, for example. I just flew to Vancouver and back, and in both cases there were children on the plane who basically were dominating the parents, and because the parents were acting meek in the face of that, everybody on the plane had to be dominated by loud, unruly children that the parents weren't taking care of. We're acting like, "Oh, I don't want to upset them," or "I don't want to." I turned out okay, I think. And my father, I tell you, if I made a bunch of noise like that, he would set me down and make sure that I kept my mouth shut in public. If I made a bunch of noise in a restaurant, he'd say, "Go sit in the car until we're done eating." Now, if you put your kid in the car, you could get arrested. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So now those kids will do whatever they want, and they're becoming the future criminals as far as I'm concerned, because they now feel entitled to do whatever they want, make as much noise as they want, disturb anyone they want, act out any way they want, and the parents are not being parent. Part of the responsibility of parenthood is that you need to tell your child what is and is not acceptable up to a certain point in their life. If they don't like it, too bad,
Right.
Your job is to be a parent to your children and not let the children run the household and make a bunch of disturbance publicly. And so what we have is a bunch of children raising other children.
Right.
They may be 30 years old, but if they're not being parents, as far as I'm concerned, if they're not guiding their children in eating proper food. Now, I know it's easy for me to say I didn't raise an infant. The stepson that I raised was 6 years old when I met his mother in a previous marriage, and he's 38 years old now. So I got to raise a son, but I didn't raise an infant. I have infant nephews and nieces that I get to be with, and I could see that, boy, the parents really do have their hands full. So my hat's off to those parents. I've seen some very fine examples of parenting that is completely non-violent but very firm, and those children behave normally and naturally, and they know where their limits are, both publicly and privately. They start to get out of line. The parents have give them a talking to in such a way that they straighten themselves up.
Right.
Hopefully you'll be able to get your son's permission to give him some guidance. Say, "Look, I see you're having a little trouble raising this kid. Can I help you out with that?"
I mentioned something like that. They didn't get upset about, "Don't you think this is right that you open up the refrigerator, give him that much choice?" And then my son said, because he wasn't eating anything. That's why we decided to ask him, "What would you like to eat?"
Well, if that's one or two times, maybe that's what they need. Listen, who knows, right? I don't want to spend a whole show talking about what that kid eats or not, but I mean, I think the crux of this conversation is get permission from your son and daughter-in-law to, give them some guidance, ask them if they would like to hear your opinion on some things, and then give them your best advice, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, don't criticize, just offer advice.
Right.
There's a big difference between "I don't think you should do that" to "What if you tried this?" Right? Big difference.
Yes, okay, thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks for calling. Bye-bye. We were talking about the difference between the types of learning that you get in different educations, one being from the outside in, one being from the inside out. So I was going to talk about that, and also the values levels that we move through as a civilization. So I'm going to briefly go through each of the values levels and see if you can identify the one that resonates with where you're at in your own life right now. I'm not going to talk very much about values level 1 because you and I don't know very many people. In fact, there's hardly any people like this left. If you're watching this show, you're not in values level 1 because this is kind of a caveman mentality. It's people that are doing whatever they can to survive. It's the behavior, it's more like the behavior of animals than it is at humans on this level of behavior. It's just, what am I going to eat? Where am I going to sleep? What am I going to do to survive and stay alive physically? So that's a values level 1. All other values are of no concern. Things like honor, dignity, love, all that kind of stuff, you don't care about that on the values level 1. It's simply, what do I do to survive? Now that in each values level leads to the next quite naturally, because each value level, the next one up, will be a reaction to the limitations of the previous level. So people begin to realize, wow, okay, I could survive better if I stayed together in a tribe. So people formed tribes in ancient times, and they still form tribes today. They're people that stay together for the reasons of safety mostly. And in every tribe, there's always a leader that rides to the surface and is usually the bravest and the wisest, or sometimes the most ruthless, the better hunter, or the better fighter, or the one with the most money. But they will rise to the top, and people in the tribe do what the leader says. So that's a tribal state of values, and in that state of values, people follow traditions unquestioningly. In other words, they don't ask, why do we do this? We do this because it's the tradition. And so in that values level, people don't ask themselves very much, what is right, what is wrong, because the leader tells them what's right and what's wrong. So in values level 2, the tribal values level, how people know what's right and wrong is because the leader says so. Now, I wonder if that sounds familiar to some of you who are sitting here watching this show today, if you find yourself being part of a tribal value system in which one gives up their own values, they give up their own thinking, they give up their own self-referential way of being. In other words, they don't look into themselves to see what is right and wrong. They look to the leader and to the traditions to tell them what is right and what is wrong. Now, this values level has its limitations, as you would see. And there are always some young ones that sort of rise up and they get aggressive and they go, wait a minute, I don't want to evolve inside of a tribe. I don't want to be a part of a tribe and have somebody telling me what to do all the time. So they separate themselves from the group and they create their own way of thinking, their own sort of unit, if you will. It's all about the individual wanting to run their own life. Now, in values level 3, what is the most apparent attribute, if you will, is aggression. So that's where you get terrorists and then terrorist cells that actually break off from the other terrorist group, and these are all about survival, all about, I want to think for myself. I don't want anyone to tell me what to do. I take what I want. And everybody else outside of that system of thinking, including the tribal, are considered like fools or suckers. In this values level, it's very aggressive, and I just take what I want. It's because I can, and everybody else is a victim, right? Now that values level also has its limitations, and so they begin to realize that no matter how much they knock out their competition, or that no matter how much they win by being aggressive, that there's always somebody younger, stronger, more aggressive that will take them out. So the next values level becomes the values level of systems and isms. So isms are born in this values system. It's rules. How you know what is right if you're in values level 3 is because I say so. Yeah, it's right because I say it's right. Wrong because I say it's wrong. And that's it. In this values level 4 called systems, how you know what's right is because it's in the system. Everything's been worked out. It's laws, it's rules, and it allows people to group together and play a bigger game because now there's rules. And the rule of law is created. People will obey a higher authority. And this is where you get Catholicism, Catholicism, Judaism, all the isms, if you are. All of those isms come from this system. religions in general usually involve some kind of spiritual thinking and then some rules, right? Some rules and regulations, and how we know what is right is because the ism tells us it's right, and how we know what is wrong is because the ism says that's wrong. The system says that's wrong. Again, we enter into a system in which people give up their own thinking. They give up their own sense of self-knowing, their own sense of inner guidance. How they know what is right and wrong is, again, it's on the outside and it tells you from the inside. So going back to that first slide where I was talking about learning coming from the outside in, this is one of the systems in which learning comes from the outside in. How I know what's right, how I know what to do, how to dress, how to think, what to say, is because the ism, the religion and the system that I live within tells me. They tell me how to dress, what to think, and so there is a sense of sacrificing oneself for the larger system. That system has its limitations, and there's finally some people that become impatient with that system, and they go, okay, wait a minute. I want what I want, and I want it now, and I don't want anyone telling me what to do or how to do it. And so we enter into a stage called materialistic. At this level, they want everything, and they want it now, and they're achievers, and they're willing to put in the effort as long as they're going to get rewarded. So Olympic athletes are on this level. And someone who is a pure level 5, they seek out things to fulfill them which are outside of them. Values level 5 people, or materialistic people, this is where you get entrepreneurs and you get the collapse of systems like, in other words, I want what I want and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get it. I'm living outside of the system. I will use the system to get what I want, but how I know what is right and wrong, how I know what is good and bad is because I say so. So again, it is a self-referential system. It is a system that is working, how they know what's right and wrong is from the inside. Then there's another level of system called group and cause. In group and cause, it's all about the group. This is where you get the green people, if you will, the Greenpeace and Save the Whales, Save the Planet, Save the World. The question is often asked, can't we all just live together and get along? Now, this is a great level of system. This is a high level of system. It is concerned for, the world. The problem with this level, it is self-referential, and that the energy stays within its own circle. In other words, the saying is something like, we love everyone that loves everyone. In other words, if you don't love everyone, you're not part of our system, therefore you're our enemy, right? So they love everyone that loves everyone. And so it's one of the limitations of that system. It's a great system, and it is a relatively high state of evolution in which people begin to see themselves as part of a greater whole, and yet it's limited in that if you're not one of us, then you're an enemy. Do you see what I'm saying? So again, it's like a tribal thinking, but at a higher level because it's more global, it's more planetary. And the other thing is that because the energy is traveling in a circular, self-referential fashion, nothing much gets done. There's not a whole lot of progress inside of that system. Things move very slowly and evolve very slowly. There's a sense of self-satisfaction, and everybody's very caring and caring for each other. However, not a whole lot is getting done in that system. That gives rise to the next system. There will be a few people who will pop out of that system and they want to get things done, as opposed to talking about how much we all love each other and how well we're all getting along and how we're going to save the planet. They want to get it done. This is a very interesting system because this system it includes all of the previous system. So a level 7 value system is one that is self-referential, and yet it includes and can participate in all of the previous systems freely and effortlessly. They can be aggressive, they can be part of a team, they can be part of a tribe, they can be entrepreneurial and gets things done. In other words, the number 7, level 7 people, use whatever it takes to get something done. They want to get something done, they want to accomplish something, big things, and they will use whatever system works. So they're not particular to any particular religion. They'll take like the best pieces of each religion. They're not particular to any particular political system. They will use whatever political system is going to get the job done. And so they have a certain amount of freedom to travel between the different levels without getting stuck in any one particular level or trapped in any particular level. They'll stay there. They'll be a full-on participant in that system until it no longer works. And then they're out of there. They just get out. They move on to what works because they're only interested in what works. Now, I'm only going to talk about level 8 because it exists. There's other levels that aren't even on this chart because most people will never even encounter somebody that is functioning at that level in their life. But at level 8 is the kind of people that you and I generally refer to as enlightened or a sage or somebody who is operating on a higher level than most people, and they see themselves as a part of everything. They have evolved in a holistic way, and they believe that all systems are ultimately good. And they believe that the universe and that people and that the world is ultimately good, and that it all works out for the best. So they participate in all systems without being a part of necessarily any system. They are not necessarily above the systems in so much as they include all systems and are operating at a level in which they see themselves as the world. So they wouldn't harm another because they see that other person as themselves. They wouldn't harm the world because they see the world as an expression of who they are. And they see themselves as an expression of humanity. So they are for humanity. They are for the world. They are for all religions. They are for all political systems in that they want to see the growth and development and evolution of all humanity. So that would be the values level 8. And again, it's rare to meet a person of that is operating at that level all of the time, and because you may meet them when they are operating within one of the other systems. People tend to see others as being like them. So like the green people, for example, the people who are at level 6, they tend to see, we're all the same. Well, we're not. And so I told you about these value systems today for the specific reason of wanting to share with you. These are I'm bringing them up. In values levels 2, the life conditions outside are mysterious and frightening. In level 3, it's rough and hard like a jungle. They see that, so they fight to survive. The divinely controlled and guilt-ridden on level 4, they obey a rightful higher authority, meaning the tribal leader. Level 5, again, takes full advantage of all opportunities to take control, and they're very pragmatic. The level 6, again, the natural habitat is for all of humanity, so they see themselves as a part of a part of nature. Level 7 is a complex system. They see the world outside as a complex system at the risk of collapse, and their thinking systems inside is that they learn how to be free and to question things. And then level 8 sees life conditions outside as a single living, interdependent entity, and they seek order beneath the earth's chaos. So those are those value levels. The reason I shared with you the values levels today was so that you could begin to situate yourself inside of one of those levels. If there was one of those levels that resonate with you in your life, like where you see yourself as being right now, you can begin to see like what there is for you to do to evolve beyond that. If you are in one values level and you are married to, are related to, are dating somebody who's in a completely different values level, then there will need to be some work done in your life and in theirs in order to evolve to that next level. Once you've gone to another level, it's really difficult to regress backwards into a less evolved level. A lot of times people will evolve to another level, but they'll fall in love with somebody from a different level, and usually the person that's on a higher level will attempt to lower their standards in order to meet up with the person of the lower level, and call for the person of the lower level to move up into their values level. And so obviously you want to evolve, you want to when you're picking a mate, when you're marrying somebody, when you're dating someone, you want to begin to listen for what are their values, what are the things that, where are they going, what do they value in their life. And if you value, for example, like our first caller, she values having her husband live with her and her child, evolve with her and her child. She values monogamy. She values sharing love in a home with a man who doesn't value that. He simply doesn't value that, or else he would be living there and they would be sharing their home together. And there wouldn't be any sense of him going around and cheating or having other women in his life. It's just a different values. He's not wrong for having the value that he has, okay? It's easy to stand in one value system and say, well, you don't have any honor and you don't have any integrity. And I did say something like that. It's just that that kind of honor and integrity simply isn't one of his values. He probably has honor and integrity in the value system that he's in, but he's in a totally different value system, and so those two people aren't going to meet up unless he is actively attempting to elevate and change and evolve past his current system. That usually doesn't happen. Most people maybe move through one or two value systems in their entire lifetime. You're usually born into a value system. Your family, your culture, your religion, the country you live in will give you a certain value system, particularly if you're born into a tribal state of values, which, right now, that is the state of values of the culture in Iran is that there is a supreme leader who tells people what's right and what's wrong. Now, there's an entire generation of people that were born since 1979 who are saying, wait a minute, that doesn't match my current value system, and I want to change this. I want something more for my life. I have a different value system, and I see myself as part of a global expansion. I see myself as part of something bigger than all of that, and so those values don't work for me anymore. And what we're seeing, unfortunately, is the move by the leaders of that system attempting to suppress and being willing to be brutal with and even completely destroy an entire generation of people. An entire generation. It's what, 60%? 50-60% of the population of Iran is been born since 1979. I don't think that those guys are going to live long enough to destroy that generation. I think this generation is too strong and too smart and too brave to allow themselves to be wiped out by a system that belongs in another century, really. It's a system that no longer belongs in this world. And it's especially a system that doesn't belong having weapons of mass destruction and armies and all of that stuff. So I don't mean to get political with this. This is a relationship show. But I wanted to say that it comes up in my practice personally, but because I'm married to an Iranian woman and we're both public figures. And so many of the calls and the communications that I get from people are from usually women, sometimes men, who are caught between two systems, if you will. They were probably born in Iran and raised, or currently living at least, outside of Iran in a westernized culture that has an entirely different value system. If we had the same value system, there wouldn't be like all these threats of war. There wouldn't be all these problems between us. But we have entirely different value systems. All wars are about a difference in value systems. I know you're going to say, well, no, it's about power, it's about oil, it's about money. Yeah, it's all that stuff, but you wouldn't even have that if there wasn't a difference in values. People with the same values tend to work together with each other. Most of the questions that I get about relationships are about somebody who wants to have a successful, monogamous, romantic relationship, and someone else who wants to have a relationship that belongs to a different value system in a different century and a different time and place. And they know it no longer applies. So those two value systems need to both evolve in order to be able to come together and work together and live together as a husband and a wife. I hope that this has been useful for you. Pretty much that was what I wanted to share with you today. I wanted to share that system of values evaluation so that you can begin to see in your own life if this is something that applies in your relationships. So that's it for my show today. Thank you very much. My name is Gregory Morgan. Thanks for watching. You've been watching Love Talk. I'll see you back here next week.
در کارگاه‌های آموزشی بانوان به رهبری دکتر آزیتا سایان خود واقعیتان و همچنین مردان را بشناسید و با استفاده از قدرت زنانه خود روابطی سالم و عاشقانه بسازید. لس آنجلس 6 تا 8 سپتامبر، ایروان ارمنستان 31 اکتبر تا 2 نوامبر، تورنتو 15 تا 17 نوامبر و همبورگ 28 فوریه تا اول مارچ. 310-460-2600 embracegrowth.com. سمینار جذاب از بیار بودن تا دلدادگی توسط خانم دکتر آزیتا سایان.
اگر ازدواج کردید و رابطه اونجوری که دلتون میخواد گرم و صمیمی و پر از عشق نیست، اگر در قسمتی از رابطتون هستین که فکر میکنین میخواید اقدام به جدایی بکنید، نکنید، بیاید این سمینار. بعدن چیزایی رو که تو این سمینار میشنوید برید و در رابطتون پیاده بکنید، بعدن تصمیم جدی بگیرید. در هر مقطعی که هستید واقعا بهتون توصیه میکنم که این سمینار خاص رو از دست ندید. به جرئت میتونم بگم بهترین سمیناریه که خودم تا حالا روش کار کردم.
با این سمینار متفاوت مخصوص مجردین و متأهلین دوباره عاشق شوید. اورنج کانتی 25 آگوست، روتردام 4 اکتبر، لندن 5 اکتبر، استکهلم 6 اکتبر. 310-460-2600 embracegrowth.com. اپلیکیشن Embrace Growth. با ساختن اکانت شخصی شما می توانید وارد پروفایل خود شده و تنظیمات آن را تغییر دهید. به تمامی رویدادها و محصولات دسترسی داشته باشید. با چند کلیک برای سمینارها و کارگاه‌ها ثبت نام کنید و یا وقت مشاوره خود را رزرو نمایید. اپلیکیشن Embrace Growth را امروز از اپ استور دانلود کنید و به خانواده جهانی Embrace Growth بپیوندید. یک مرد منحصر به فرد، مسلط، متمرکز، قابل اعتماد و رضایتمند باشید. کارگاه شرافت، عزت کلام و مهارت به رهبری دکتر آزیتا سایان. ایروان ارمنستان 15 تا 17 آگوست، تورنتو 20 تا 22 سپتامبر، همبورگ 18 تا 20 اکتبر و لس آنجلس 13 تا 15 مارچ. برای اطلاعات بیشتر با شماره 310-460-2600 تماس بگیرید. سمینار جذاب از بیار بودن تا دلدادگی توسط خانم دکتر آزیتا سایان.
برای خودتون روی ورقه بنویسید که هدف من اگر میخوام این سمینار رو برم، هدفی که میخوام بهش برسم و تاریخی که میخوام به اون هدف برسم کیه، و بعد همین الان این بلیط رو تهیه کنی، به خاطر که به سرعتی که اون بلیط رو تهیه میکنید به سرعت رسیدن به اون هدف نزدیک میشید. سر موقع بیاید توی صندلیتون برای این سمینار بشینید، توی سمینار نوت بردارید و مو به مو چیزایی که تو اون سمینار میشنوید رو برید و اجرا بکنید و ببینید زندگیتون چه میشه و اون هدف چقدر به سرعت اتفاق میفته.
با این سمینار متفاوت مخصوص مجردین و متأهلین دوباره عاشق شوید. اورنج کانتی 25 آگوست، روتردام 4 اکتبر، لندن 5 اکتبر، استکهلم 6 اکتبر. 310 460 2600 embracegrowth.com. اپلیکیشن امبریس گروت همکنون در اپ استور. با ساختن اکانت شخصی شما می توانید پروفایل خود را مدیریت و زبان مورد نظر خود را بین فارسی و انگلیسی انتخاب کنید. وقت مشاوره خود را رزرو نمایید. محصولات از جمله CD، DVD و کتاب‌ها را خریداری و دانلود نمایید و یا برای کارگاه‌ها و سمینارها نام‌نویسی کنید. همچنین شما می توانید به برنامه‌های تلویزیونی و رادیویی دکتر سایان و یا آقای مورگن به صورت رایگان دسترسی داشته باشید. اپلیکیشن امبریس گروت را امروز از اپ استور دانلود کنید.